Hello and welcome to the Real Winging It podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Ladwell, and I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Harry McKay
and Mitchell Mennel.
So we're here to talk about the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Spanish
was that good? Yeah.
Alright, so we've had another Red Bull 1-2. Max P1, Sergio P2. Do we think they're coming into good form, or have they been benefiting off of other people's mistakes?
I think they've both been on good form. Doesn't it? I guess he had the engine problems, but they always look competitive.
Yeah, the car's always competitive. I will say undeserved, only because Leclerc's been consistent all weekend, and that was very, very unlucky. And maybe I should have felt a bit of joy, knowing that, okay, Max is then likely to win the race, but when he went off, I was pretty gutted. So
you felt joy when Max beat Lewis?
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, that's different, isn't it?
Is it though? If anything, Lewis got robbed even worse.
Yeah, but maybe he should have been a better driver, and then he would have won it already.
I'm sorry. He had literally no tyres.
Yeah, well, that was his own fault. Team.
It would have been easier just to take all your tyres off and start racing.
We're not getting into this.
All right. George Russell managed to sneak on the podium as well. Is this because it was like an outstanding drive from him, or is the upgrades that Mercedes are bringing to the car, is it improving it, making it more competitive?
I think Mercedes definitely brought upgrades, and they seem to have worked. Porpoising on the straights, pretty much gone. I think there was a little bit in the corners, but solving that is obviously what they needed.
Yeah.
It's not going to get them fighting for wins necessarily, but obviously podium achievable.
Yeah. Last week we were saying that they'd get a 1-2 and we'd say everyone else would have to crash out, and it wasn't a great race.
I did say Lewis would win the World Championship, so...
Yeah.
But to be fair, George got on the podium because both Ferraris screwed up.
I was going to say, would George be on the... if Ferrari didn't do that bad, George is not on the podium.
No, their car wasn't... So it was faster.
It's still behind. It's probably a bit better, but still behind.
Yeah. But having consistency is very important, and the Red Bull and the Ferrari, although they are better cars, they do seem to be less consistent.
Yeah.
But they're still winning.
They are still winning.
Less consistent, but they're still winning. So I prefer to be in that end than
definitely.
Mercedes.
Well, I think at the start, the very first episode of the season, I said I'd rather have a car that's fast with an unreliable engine.
No, same, yeah.
And then I did change my mind when they crashed again. But no, I think that seems to have won out here. The occasional reliability issues is outweighed by the fast cars, but then that has helped that obviously now Ferrari have their own set of issues.
And yeah, exactly, if both of the front two teams are having issues, it doesn't make your issues as important. The points you lose from your DNFs are not as big in comparison because the other teams that are having these same issues.
Is size an issue?
Well, if we go to
races?
the championship, obviously Max with his DNFs cancelled out. Obviously by wins, won every race he's finished. 110 points compared to Charles's 104. So that massive lead, we thought maybe unsurmountable just by the start. Obviously, it was a bit of a silly statement, but we all make them. Not that we necessarily believed it, but. It's a long season, anything can happen. And constructors, Red Bull now 195 to Ferrari's 169. So, winning both championships after a rough start, not bad.
Some of the teams and some of the drivers are saying if they don't up the budget cap, there will be races where teams cannot run because if you're taking a heavy hit, your budget is taking an even bigger hit.
Yeah.
Do we think that the need for developing the cars is going to have to tail off because of the caps? And as these races, 22 races, as they add up, people are going to have to start, scrounging around for loose change in order to fix the wing or something.
Surely just crash less.
Yeah, maybe it's...
Affect it. But people want to see that. Like, not obviously high-speed crashes, but like the battles and the crashes.
But you can't choose not to crash.
No, but maybe it's like it's all part of it, isn't it? Like if you've got a worse driver who's crashing more, you got to think about that. If you're going for riskier overtakes, you got to think about that. And I think they should evaluate the budget cap each sort of season and see what it should be, especially if there's going to be more races. But there shouldn't be a situation where half the grid obviously can't race. But if there is a situation, maybe one car or two cars, then maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's you've got to be more efficient with
more
it.
tactical with
maybe just go back to other laws, back to when saves are good again. Give you an idea.
Let's get back to
every week.
Every episode.
Maybe it'll come true.
I'm just hoping someone's listening out there.
Let's get
not
back
Michael
to
Massey though. But.
Let's get back to Barcelona. Right. Before the race, there was an air temperature of 37 degrees, but the track was 50. Do you think this is too hot to be competing, to making these drivers sit inches from an engine for 2 hours? Do you think that those conditions are a bit too harsh?
Getting paid to get tanned?
You're tanned when you're wearing a full body suit.
Yeah, maybe I forgot about that. But
obviously,
it's hot.
It's challenging, but they seem to. I think if the drivers raised it as a bigger issue, I don't know if I saw too many. Obviously, they physically are affected more. You can see it, but adding that extra level of endurance perhaps is just an added sort of challenge, an added bonus to it. So I think it was more for the fans. I think they didn't have adequate water and stuff like that. In the Barcelona,
there's not many shaded stands, so there's people sitting out in that heat. Do you think it should be moved to a different point in the season?
I haven't had any real proper complaints.
All I will say is this was quite a high degradation track, obviously because of the heat, especially, and I think that made for a very interesting race with the 3 stops being the prevalent strategy. So I think in that regard, that has balanced out the rest of it. I think stuff should be done more for the fans, shades, water, just easy things that can be solved.
Like shade umbrellas, something like that.
Yeah. I don't think, was that just a hot day? Typically hot day, like, was it unexpected?
There was a heat wave.
Yeah, it was a heat wave, so it was hotter than normal. But still,
it's Barcelona.
It's going to be
hot
I know,
but
in the summer.
I don't know, but I feel like it would only be like, 25 normally?
Still, there should be adequate water and shade.
No, of course, yeah. But I'm saying like moving it, I don't think it's the issue.
No.
Or what about starting it a couple hours later?
Yeah, you could do. You could.
But I like the temperature for the tyres. That's what I mean. I think.
Yeah, it makes it.
You can move to winter. There's no harm doing it, but maybe scheduling might be hard. But
it makes it a more interesting race.
Yeah. I think time was okay. So
Alonso had to take a new power unit, which relegated him to the back of the grid. But he had an incredible drive. He only managed to qualify in 17th.
Yeah, it was poor. So taking the engine off.
Taking the engine was the smart move, but he ended up 9th in the points, which was an incredible recovery drive.
Yeah,
considering
really
there were only 2 retirements, so it wasn't like that was bumping him up. At the beginning of the race, though, Sainz, lap 1, he fell to 5th after qualifying in 3rd.
Yeah, just more bad starts from him. Really bad, sort of off the line.
He's had disappointing start.
Definitely not what he would have wanted overall.
He's hitting a bit of a rough patch at the moment where he doesn't seem to be...
Literally.
I think I saw... I think it might have been Crofty or one of the commentators said this could be a really important race for him in his career, in his home race, trying to get that momentum back and cementing his place as a number 2 driver. And for Ferrari, most importantly, getting some good points. And that didn't really happen, did it?
No.
So... Whether that's true or not, I think if he does great the rest of the season, obviously no one's going to look at this, but, he's 20 points behind Perez at the moment, which is not huge, but, if that starts to grow by the same rate,
and
it's going to become an issue.
Considering the problems that Perez has had, last race he obviously had his engine problems again, so he's not had the best of luck, and he's still managing to...
I mean, Sainz has had his own bout of bad luck, but overall he's definitely not been as consistent.
On the opening lap, Kevin Magnussen and Hamilton obviously made contact. They both had to go into the pits with damage, and they fell to the back of the grid. It was deemed as a racing incident. Did you guys also see it that way?
Yeah, especially start of the race.
Yeah. I think
I was rewatching it as well later, and clearly enough space, and just Hamilton sort of drifted understeer.
Yes, yeah. I
think
think
they could have done. No, it's just accidental.
First race.
Understeer. It's not his fault, but
yeah. On lap 5, it becomes evident that the Alpine has real race pace, with Alonso making it up from the back of the grid all the way to 13th. Is this, a turning point for Alpine? Are they going to start challenging more for the higher positions, 6th, 5th kind of.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't think anywhere near that high, apart from maybe if they get lucky with DNFs and stuff. But I think, they had a lot of promise for this season and it hasn't really paid off. And I think, I like Ocon and Alonso, and I think they're both solid drivers. So I think they do deserve a better car that they can then prove how good of drivers they are or still are in Alonso's case. So I think it is a good step up and improvement, and I hope they continue on that trajectory.
I think that's where the car is at, though. I think they're competing, competitive, and I think apart from Mercedes, I think they're probably the next one in that order potentially.
Yeah, they've had a bit more consistency, I guess, than the McLarens have been having. The McLarens will have a good race when they're on the podium, and then they're not so good. So who knows who the best of the rest really is at the moment. So,
I think.
What were you gonna?
I think people are still trying to figure out with the new regulation still.
Yeah.
So I think next season we'll truly see.
Yeah.
Where everyone's at.
I think with different tracks as well, we are seeing a shuffle from McLaren being up and down, yo-yoing a bit, Alpine being up and down. Bottas in that Alpha has been very consistent.
Very consistent. 6th, I think, is his favourite position.
Yeah. So I mean, that's obviously solid. Obviously, Joe is not doing so good.
But as a
rookie, it's not been a terrible start. So
somebody who's so experienced, Bottas, in such a big team as well, under the pressure, I think he's always going to perform a lot better than a rookie.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I had him as driver of the season or something like that.
What, Zhou Guanyu or Bottas?
Who? I'm joking. But Bottas.
Yeah. Well, on that subject of who, he has flown quite under the radar. Nothing too special from him so far.
You don't really see him much,
but nothing too bad either.
No, exactly. He hasn't been obviously Tsunoda. Obviously Mazepin, but Tsunoda in his rookie season. Yes. He had a lot of promise, which he's has been delivering more on. But that first sort of 3/4 of the season, it was you need to perform, you need to stop crashing.
I think Formula One is also quite an endurance sport that I think a lot of the younger drivers, obviously they've been in the lower formulas, but the races aren't as long, the seasons aren't as long, there's not as much pressure behind them, they're not going as fast, your body's under less strain. So maybe it's also a development thing with their physically having to move up to be able to compete in these cars.
I think it's good to see a lot of the good young Asian drivers. Because diversity, so it's just good in that sense.
Yeah, because before we've only really had Lewis Hamilton. But now you've got Albon, Tsunoda, so
our big Filipino following.
I think Guo Jianyu is the first Chinese driver, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is, obviously a massive country, so...
Yeah, surprised not one before.
Yeah, exactly, so it is good to see.
I think he went to school here. I think he moved here for his karting when he was younger. So
obviously, I think still Europe is the hub for karting, and a lot of the people have to move here.
Albon as well. I know he grew up here. But he's another one who represents Thailand.
Yes,
the Asian community.
So at turn 4, there was a few little runoffs and spins. This was, I think, put down to tailwind, which seems strange to me when the cars are so flat and low down. How
and heavy,
heavy as well. I mean, I know they're going quickly, but how can a little breeze push them?
Yeah,
they're so delicate. The cars.
I think when they just start moving, they don't stop, so it just really takes you out. But obviously, Sainz first.
On lap 7.
There was many, wasn't there?
Yeah.
We went to
and then Verstappen did the same.
But Verstappen only dropped 2 places, whereas Sainz, I guess, was more in the pack, so he ended up losing 6 places, which I think was
never really recovered from.
No, quite telling, I think. Yeah.
This shows how good Max is to do that and to recover so well and to win it. I know there's no Leclerc, but it's still impressive, though.
Yeah.
Obviously, the pack was further, but... Yeah, I mean, good recovery from him, definitely.
Definitely. There were DRS problems, though, for Verstappen, where it wasn't opening. I think at one time he said he was pressing the button 50 or more times.
Just spamming. Proper gamer move, just spamming the button, hoping it works.
His finger must be going insane.
It's like me at FIFA earlier, just whacking
it. Obviously, Russell, this really helped his defence because Max didn't have the DRS constantly. if this has been playing up for a while. They showed this issue last season even. Do you think it's gonna
with like the tape and trying to like fix the wings? Like
it was held together with a bit of duct tape.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was like, putting together, like, this like cost $1 million just using duct tape.
Yeah.
Two things come together.
Do you think this problem is easily fixable?
You'd think so. I think Adrian Newey's probably seeing the 1-2 but still kicking himself kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you wouldn't expect these kind of issues. I'm not sure what it is, but it needs to be under control, because while it didn't, it hampered them a bit, it didn't have an overall impact. But you can see in Max's radio messages, it's clearly stressing him out, and it's...
Yeah, and driving angry, especially for Max, you're more prone to making little mistakes because you're maybe not concentrating.
But it might give him that edge, the fighting edge.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to, he does seem to use that to fuel them. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it is interesting to see the whiplash from that.
I thought you talking about the cows you saw today. I saw a couple of raging bulls chasing Harry. So
chasing, I think they were just walking.
I don't know. I saw a few jobs.
Well, all I know
big legs.
All I know is you were very scared. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
I saw them following you.
I was
for certain reasons.
I was the scared one.
Yeah.
That's on the record. It was definitely true. Leclerc by lap 22 had pulled ahead quite a big margin because he was able to pit from the lead and come back into the lead. Obviously, this was largely due to Russell holding up the Red Bulls and Max having to come in, but it was quite evident, I think, that Red Bull looked faster on the straights, but Ferrari just seemed to be faster overall everywhere. But sadly, on lap 27, as we all know, their engine problems forced a retirement. What looked like a victory parade, it was cut short, which I know that obviously the new regulations, maybe that's why we're having so many engine problems, but it seems like the thing we're talking about the most.
Yeah, there's been a lot.
Yeah.
It's good that's happened to everyone, though. Not just Red Bull, Ferrari. You know how much
I mean, it has now
to Red Bull.
narrowed it right down, the leads. So.
Yeah. It swapped them, really.
Yeah, swapped the lead, with like a narrow Red Bull lead and a narrow Verstappen lead. So it's keeping it interesting, I guess. But obviously you want these races, each individual races, the drivers fighting to the finish line, not dying on lap 27. So, I think they will get the hang of it.
No, they will.
So I think it's all part of the teething problems.
In the Drivers' Championships, though, the only teammates who are placed together are the Alpha Tauris, which I think is something we've probably not seen for a very long time.
No, that's very interesting.
We've got the Red Bull, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, Mercedes up the top, so you've got a right mix up there. But yeah, even like the Williams, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo, like they're all...
Yeah.
There's all a gap, which I think is kind of showing that the cars aren't as much, I think, for the mid-tier.
Yeah, that battle is a lot closer.
It's more with the drivers, I think, than it is with the cars. I know that the cars are varied as speeds, but it seems to be a bit more mixed up, I guess.
Yeah, and I think with the different tracks, cars seem to be, like certain teams seem to be faster. So when that team utilizes, or that driver utilizes a good race strategy on that time they are faster, they've come away with a lot more points. Obviously, Norris a lot higher than Ricciardo, example, for that reason, really.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's obviously early days, but if it kept like that, would show that the teams are closer and
it's
everyone's
not like
able to fight.
Noah's Ark 2x2, lined up. They're all mixed up. Lap 49. Perez has to give the position to Verstappen, which I think he was quite annoyed about.
He would have got overtaken anyway, I feel.
Yeah.
I think Max is a better driver.
Max had slightly,
fresh tyres,
maybe like 9 or 6 laps.
So I thought they were 4 or 5, but maybe
and it's a bit more than
I
that.
think he had fresh tyres. I thought he'd got overtaken him as well.
Yeah. So obviously not huge amount, but as
and
Mitchell
Max
said,
is fine for the World Championship.
Yes.
I think...
I know Sergio is, but he's just not as in contention.
Yeah. I think I saw someone say he should have... Perez, was right to let him go through, but Max should have let Perez maybe fight a little bit earlier or something like that. So I think maybe if you're going to do these team strategy orders, I don't love them, by the way.
I'm not a fan either.
Maybe make them a bit more equal when the other driver, when Perez is, maybe has the fresher tyres or the edge. But, you don't think that's going to happen, is it? So
I'm not a fan of team wars. I would love to see another Max with Daniel Ricciardo or Hamilton, Rosberg.
Hamilton and Rosberg, I think, scared everyone, though. The amount of times that they hit each other, I think it's now more important to have a number one, number two, or for people to respect team orders, because there's been moments in the past, I think also with Vettel Weber, where team orders haven't been taken.
Is that not good though?
I do like the drama,
yes,
but I don't think there needs to be drama.
Would be incredible.
At least with drivers like Perez and I was going to say Verstappen to an extent, but I think Perez is very respectful, and I think those two in the same team could have respectful challenges. And I don't think that would have ended, for example, in a double DNF. So I think they should have let them race. And Max is going to get past you. Say keep it clean. Maybe even say you can only overtake on these few corners that a little bit easier, or down the straight.
Just let them race. I don't think there has to be that I guess because they're a team, but let them race.
But the risk is too high.
Yeah, but they're professional drivers. They should know.
I agree with you in practice. I'm just saying, from a team standpoint, maybe those slight limitations would put their conscience at ease. Maybe.
No, I know why they do it, but I think just let them race. I know why teams don't, but
yeah. So Perez pits for the fastest lap point with about 10 laps left. I know that some people weren't a fan of it when it came in, but I'm actually quite a fan of the point for the fastest lap.
Yeah, it occasionally throws up interesting strategy, or maybe not interesting, but it's just something else to look at the end of the race.
Say what to pit when you're 30 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. It's just
it's never interesting.
I don't find it interesting at all. It's just a bit irrelevant for me.
Fair enough. It wasn't a thing last year. In last season, I think Max got more points than Hamilton. So if it wasn't a thing, Hamilton would have won.
Well, great. There you go. There's his reason not to like it.
All right, and let's talk about Michael Massa then as well.
No,
we don't.
No.
Really, he wasn't there. He won.
Moving on sharpish. There was problems for Mercedes though. Early on, Russell was told to go easy.
Yeah.
They were having cooling problems. Obviously, it was very, very hot. But Hamilton at the end is forced to lift and coast.
Yeah, well, I think with the Russell thing, he was like, are you sure? There's no one in front of me.
He was in clear air, yeah.
And then it was still having issues. So it was clearly more than, just obviously it was very hot, but it was clearly a car issue because, with the Hamilton later on.
They were very serious on the radio. They said, this is a DNF if you didn't
give
do
up
it.
the place, basically.
Yeah, so it was a shame because Hamilton had such a fantastic recovery drive after the lap one incident where he had to go into the pits, and obviously he probably had a bit of damage after that. I'm not sure. It seemed to hit tyre on tyre.
Yeah.
But having to give up the fourth. He didn't obviously give it up, but he was a sitting duck on the straight. There was nothing he could have done.
I think this drive for Hamilton has been the first of the season. When you look from, the lap after the crash onwards, has been a classic Hamilton drive. He gets knocked down by something and he shows, obviously the car's improved, which is a big part of it, but that he is such a skilled driver that can take it from the back of the grid or start at the start, and he can win races, right? He can be right up there fighting. And obviously, I think it was fourth before the problems. But I love that fight. It seemed like it was there. But obviously, when he first crashed, he wanted to give up.
He came on the radio and said, I would save the engine, guys. I'm sorry. That doesn't sound like...
Doesn't sound like a seven-time world champion.
No, it sounded like he just was so fed up. Like his run of bad luck.
I'm starting to think, my theory is George Russell's that good.
He is good.
He is good, but I think he potentially could be better than Lewis.
I don't want to say anything like that.
I don't know. This is theory, but
I think he's obviously a great young talent. But regardless of that, that doesn't really show... That doesn't explain Hamilton's lack of...
No, it doesn't.
Drive,
maybe
I guess.
George Russell's just pushing the car so far.
Yeah, but,
No, I don't think it is, but...
You don't want... want your drivers, no matter where they are on the grid, to think, I have the skill and talent to win this race.
No, I think...
Because otherwise, what's the point of being there?
I But I
You
think
might as
George
well
Russell's that good.
save the engine, like...
No, I just agree. Yeah, I agree, but I don't know.
In the standings, George Russell's on 74 and Hamilton on 46. So there's nearly 30 points in it, which is quite big after 6 races.
How old's George Russell? 23? 24 maybe?
Something like that.
Yeah, something around there.
Yeah, look what he's doing with the car. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what is with Lewis. Motivation.
Motivation.
It's just driving as well. You can blame the car, but it's just driving that's letting him down.
Yeah, no, for sure. He hasn't been anywhere near as good as you'd expect.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we'll have to see, because obviously he did drive a lot better here. I think maybe the car being unreliable in the way that it drives, I think he maybe hasn't just been used to that. Whereas Russell is used to a worse car.
Maybe.
I'm not sure if that's a convincing explanation, but we'll see if things change from here on.
Oh, Russell's just better than Hamilton. He's a Hamilton 2.0.
Could be.
Hopefully for Britain's sake, that could be the case. And he goes on to become a 17-time world champion.
17 might be pushing it.
That is insane. Yeah, he wins every race till he retires. Every championship till he retires.
Every race. Why not?
Take every race? Yeah, why not?
I think I've said it before, but I never ever want to see another 7-time world champion.
Unless he's British.
No. Hence why I wasn't rooting for Hamilton.
What if it was Daniel Ricciardo?
I think it's bad for the sport.
What if Daniel Ricciardo was...
I've always said I'd love to see another 7-time world champion.
Do you not have Leclerc on your wall?
We'll leave that one alone.
And we'll go on to the...
Shows it every day.
The latest scandal, if you were. Aston Martin...
Oh.
They're leaning over, they're looking at the test paper next to them, and they're copying all the answers.
Inspector Seb has been doing his homework and...
going and looking around the old garage.
Plagiarism. If you get away with it, it's totally fine.
They did it last...
I don't do that, by the way. University.
They did it the other year.
For legal reasons.
Yeah.
And they were a pink Mercedes.
Yep.
Now are they going to be a green Red Bull?
Green Red Bull. I would say it's green Red Bull by look. It's not green Red Bull by pace.
Yes.
Doesn't have the drivers either.
No, obviously.
Can't copy the drivers.
A 4-time world champion. What kind of a driver do they have?
Oh, yeah, good point. I forgot that was. Is he only 4?
Well, they've got...
No, he is 4. He did back-to-back.
Vettel finished 11th in this race, so...
Stroll's definitely not a 4-time world champion, that's for sure, so...
No.
There you go.
He might be like 4-time World Destructors Championship. He's probably binned it quite a few times, but...
Yeah. So Haas were showing early pace in the season. I remember that first race, we were like, oh my goodness, they're going to win. But that pace has kind of dried up a bit. I don't know.
Obviously, Magnussen was right up there and then got unlucky with a crash.
But
so
Hamilton managed to get back up to 5th place. Magnussen was...
I think he had more damage.
Yeah.
Obviously, because Hamilton's wheel went in them. But you are right, their race pace doesn't seem to be anywhere near as good as their one-lap pace.
Because... Sorry.
He probably got thrown off. I just think it was an off day. Because that crash can throw you off, damaged everything. It's just an off day for them. He's been so consistent.
Mick Schumacher qualified in 10th and finished 14th.
Yeah, obviously points, double points for them last week.
Yeah.
Not a great drive from Schumacher again. Losing 4 places with two DNFs obviously is not what you want.
Could be the car. Because the car might not see it as a track. The heat, maybe.
Maybe it was the heat. We'll never know, I guess. But it just, like, the last few races, it seems like their race pace has really gone a bit. I'm not sure if it's...
I think... I think the race pace isn't there.
Is it other teams catching up, maybe? Or
Haas didn't bring any upgrades, I don't think. So, could be that.
Since the race, there's been some news from the FIA, and they want to try and make the sport a bit greener, I guess, which is obviously very difficult when you're travelling around to 23 different countries and counting. Mm-hmm. But they're going to start to make the calendar, I think, in blocks, continental blocks.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
It should be. I mean, it makes no sense that it's...
It's sort of been doing that. They sort of did all the middle... Well, apart from Abu Dhabi, but they did the Bahrain,
yeah, they
Saudi.
were a bit better this year, yeah.
I feel like it used to be a bit better, and then there was a few silly years.
Yeah.
But then...
Yeah. I think, obviously, the pandemic as well.
Yes.
Managing to fit things in messed everything up. But, obviously, if we can make it greener by making these races closer, amazing. That's really the goal.
Yeah.
For me though, I just love having like a European leg, an Asian leg, a Middle Eastern leg, the Americas. I just think it's more exciting. It's kind of
it's good environment. We're just
for
Harry's sake.
I just did my environmental essay yesterday. You're an environmental student. Screw it. I want my European leg.
What is it? Malawi we've got to lose. The Maldives. Screw that. We want our races.
You can't afford to go there anyway. So
exactly.
Miami's underwater already, and the Netherlands isn't far away.
And we've got a race in there, so underwater race maybe.
More exciting.
Be like a Mario.
Fill up the marina.
Ooh.
Oh, there we go.
Actually, water.
We have a marina, but no racetrack.
Yeah.
This, though, could mean moving or potentially even having to lose some of the most famous races. Do you think that Liberty Media are not as in touch with, like, proper, like, long-time F1 fans? Do you think they're just in it for the new ones and for the money?
I just don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime.
In our lifetime, we're only 20.
Yeah, true. Feel older, but
yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime. Well, the race on could be affected in our lifetime.
Yeah, I
know. That's quite a selfish point of view, but like I just feel like I think I read like maybe we'll lose like a bit of Suffolk, but we've got no race in Suffolk. So
you're just talking about rising sea levels still.
Yeah, and that's how we're going to lose.
We've moved on.
We're talking about dropping races from the calendar, not sinking races from the calendar.
I thought we were talking about climate change.
No.
Lovely. That's Mitchell, climate change denier and environmental geography student.
Environmental science.
Oh, sorry, science. Not really science.
Well, I do tell people I do biology, so. For reasons.
And how's that working with the women, huh? Are they buying that?
So,
no.
Some
Hence
races.
You're recording an F1 podcast.
Some races may be cancelled.
Yeah.
Or moved. For example, Monaco and Spa potentially could be scrapped. These are two of the most historic and maybe important races of the calendar. So back to my question, do you think that Liberty Media don't care about the history of the sport? They just care about the money that it can generate?
I think Liberty Media are in cahoots with big oil. Mm-hmm. And they're just trying to sink them.
Literally.
No, I think they're out of touch on these things. They keep saying it. They keep trying to get more races in new countries or new places with, because they're getting more money out of it. And I think losing Monaco, even though it's not a great race, losing Spa, which is a great race and iconic, would be a disaster. I think that's a total miscalculation. And if they do it, which I don't think they will, there'll be huge backlash. So,
yes. Harry, can you just tell us your genius idea that you had when we were battling through the cows on the way here about the alternate seasons?
Oh yeah, so I have seen this floated around a bit, and I was thinking about it when they were trying to extend the calendar, which I think everyone agrees is a bit too much, really. We have a certain number of races that are on the calendar every year. Your Spas, your Monaco, Silverstone, stuff like that. You have those 10 races, and then you have another 10 races that are, every other year maybe are in, out of a group of 20 races, which means the diversity of tracks is increased. You're getting different places, more places, without compromising the number of races you're doing.
And the integrity of
the sport.
What fans want, the history of the sport, and that, I guess, sense of connection with the past. You want the historic races. People dream about winning Monaco.
Yeah.
And going up there and meeting the royals and
and then maybe some of the races that are sort of fairly iconic you never want to drop but aren't so good, they could be in the cycles. So you're still getting, I'd love to have obviously, Suzuka back in, stuff like that. But if these places can't, maybe even in Malaysia, if we can try and sort that out. Obviously that comes down to money, but if they were only doing it every other year, maybe that would help. Getting back in. So I think obviously everything comes down to money, but that could be an interesting idea.
I think it would be. I think we should start a movement. We'll get our...
This doesn't have the time. It doesn't matter how. Let's have about time to do this podcast.
So we get our
Quite a busy
fans
guy.
to
We're
tweet
gonna
about it.
Our 10 fans.
First
Yeah.
10 fans. I'll do
Get our
them right in the
Filipino
room.
audience.
Yeah.
Get them to start tweeting.
If you agree with Harry, please let us know.
Does any of us have Twitter?
We'll set one up.
No, we don't.
I have Twitter, but
Okay, well,
I don't
follow me
tweet. I just follow political people.
All right then. Let's
Give
go.
them abuse.
Let's go
Oh,
for
yeah.
our driver of the day. There was quite a few. Mitchell, who are you going for?
There was no really, maybe Alonso. Well, I am going to go Alonso, but there was no like massive standout one. I didn't think, but I thought Alonso did well. Yeah, started 12th, came 9th.
Yeah, getting into
Look,
the
you
points.
know, I'm sure I say this every week, but he just looks good. He was a good driver.
You
I know
would-
he's two-time world champion, but he's 40, isn't he?
Yes,
So I thought he might tail away, but no, he's still up there.
he's still.
So you're admitting that?
I never said
I
denied
feel
Oh
it.
no,
like
sorry, I'm getting Ellie.
It's on record. You told me Fernando Alonso was too old.
I know we can never be too
Yeah,
old.
because you were
so.
bigging up Ocon, right? Instead of
Yeah, I
Alonso.
think Ocon, yeah.
Yeah, I
I-
think it's great, but yeah, because Ellie said Alonso was like great and everything, and then you were like, no, he's too old.
Oh yeah, he's not the same driver he used to be a couple of years ago, or 10
Well,
years
he's your
ago.
driver of the day, so
Well, yeah, he's still a good driver. He's just not a two-time world champion.
Well, he
The same
is.
person he won. No, he is, but he's not the same driver.
do you know who isn't the same as they were when they were a champion?
Who?
Lewis Hamilton.
No, he's not. You're right.
Harry,
That's
who's...
what old age does.
I'm,
That's
reading,
why.
I'm seeing your
That's why.
I'm seeing your tears from here, Mitchell. Jeez.
All right,
just
Harry,
looking at you makes me cry.
put us out of misery. Who's your
Joking.
driver of the day?
Oh, I didn't think about mine. I was too busy making fun of Mitchell. I'll go with Hamilton.
Yeah.
I think I'll go with Hamilton. Even though that radio message made me quite upset, I guess, and disappointed.
Yeah, I would say disappointed.
It's like when your parents not angry, just disappointed.
Yeah.
But all drivers obviously have bad moments.
Yes.
Max was screaming like a little kid about the DRS. So
Yeah.
amazing recovery. Hopefully he's back in form.
Yeah, I'm also going to vote Hamilton. I think, although, yeah, he was on the radio sounding really disheartened, I think he put together a very, very good race.
well.
One he can like
This
look back on him.
goddamn British bias. It's just disgusting.
I picked the Spaniard. See, look.
You're only doing that because you think you're a fool now for saying he was
I never
rubbish.
said that.
You said he was the
British-
worst driver on the grid.
I didn't say that because Mark Staffan's on there. So
British bias from
race
the
winner
kid that
and
grew
world
up in
champion.
Qatar and the kid that grew up in New Zealand. We've got British bias.
Well, there's no British
well,
driver.
I wouldn't say he's from New Zealand. I would definitely not say I'm not Qatari.
No.
I wish I was because if my good Qatar would allow me to just go straight
Technically,
through.
I'm more Australian with my Australian passport. So.
And you're not even Australian.
No.
Hardly.
And I'm Essex through and through. What are your final thoughts, Harry?
Final thoughts. My final thoughts are gonna come after Mitchell's final thoughts.
All right, Mitchell, what are your final thoughts?
You mentioned Essex. I was thinking, thank God we don't do a snooker podcast because
Oh,
all you
God.
talk about is snooker and Essex. I'm not even from Essex. Chump's from like Midlands.
Yeah.
And he was at O'Sullivan.
Oh,
He's not even born there.
Do you know who was from Essex?
Where?
The Eurovision guy.
Yes.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
I never knew.
Because we had to hear about that.
Yeah, we did.
Well, born in Chelmsford, I think, where I was born. We were probably born in the same hospital.
Okay, my final thoughts are I think we should take a vote to replace the Essex member of the podcast.
Was it
All in
official?
favour.
Harry,
Obviously,
where are your family from?
for our audio listeners, you can't see.
They're
but
from Essex.
Mine and Mitchell's hands are raised, so
Oh.
Ellie's out of it. She's
But your
gone.
family's from Essex.
Well, no.
What?
No. They're from
No.
East London.
That's not Essex, is it?
No, but they live. My auntie and uncle live in Essex now.
Oh
But my family is.
You're one of them.
My family is
You're one of them.
West Ham, East
I
London.
saw the orange in you and I was like,
I'm not
see
one
it
of
now.
them.
For the audience who cannot see us, Harry is bright orange.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Is that
They've given away
racism? I
my-
think it is. I'm going to take it.
I fell asleep in the tanning salon. It wasn't my fault.
All right, Harry, final thoughts.
I'm replacing you as host, I said. And my
With
other final thoughts.
Who you replacing her with?
I think it's just me and you, Mitchell. I think we go out
Yeah.
alone. You know.
I think we do.
You know what? I don't need you. I'm gonna start like a boy band.
Who are you going to talk
when
to?
the most attractive member
He
quits.
talked to himself.
Yeah, I just talk
in
to
the
myself.
mirror so
Harry
easily.
and Harry's personalities.
Yeah.
He literally talked to himself, I reckon.
I think they'd be much better than what
I
we're
think
doing.
he'll get more views.
Yeah. I'm going to just quit. I'm going to start my solo career. It's going to be great.
My final thoughts are, it's been very fun doing this, but sadly I won't be doing it anymore. So
It's like his third final thoughts. So the other two weren't your final thoughts.
no, I meant like
Her final
this
thoughts
is my
of
final
her
thoughts
career.
of the career podcasting.
Oh, your whole
She's been
career.
cancelled.
You've been cancelled.
We-
You've been cancelled for that talent salon joke, calling me orange.
It's true.
It's disgusting.
All right, well, thank you for listening.
This has been the Rear Winging It F1 podcast.
If
We're
any-
coming back next week for Monaco. Oh, what's going to happen? Leclerc's going to crash. There you go. Don't bother watching it.
And if any tan salons want to sponsor us,
Yeah.
give us a ring.
The one on my
Harry
high
knows a
street.
few.
And please tweet at us at Rear Winging It or something. We'll make a Twitter account. If you want to see a snooker podcast with just Ellie talking about Essex snooker players,
Who are actually from Essex.
Yeah. let's do it. Make it happen.
All right, thank you for listening.